Thank you for watching the video, and this is a true story. The character's name has been changed. If my dear friends have any questions, please leave a comment below and I will answer immediately. So you don't have to wait long. I will go into the story as follows. Greetings, Liam, please step inside. Mrs. Evelyn's voice resonated from the counter, cutting through the narrow alleyway with its piercing clarity. Liam ambled by, only to halt abruptly, his hand moving to scratch his head in confusion. Indeed, madam, did you summon me for a particular reason? What is the purpose? What is the current amount you owe me? Mrs. Evelyn stood with her arms crossed, her voice sharp and unyielding. Liam offered a shy, tentative smile. My mother has yet to send the funds. I will repay you at the earliest opportunity once I have the funds. Clearly, you embody the most undesirable traits of a debtor. Always drifting around, studying half-heartedly. Rest assured, ma'am, I promise that as soon as I have the funds, I will settle the payment immediately. You utter those words each and every time. Liam flashed a grin, a blend of jest and sincerity in his expression. If I am unable to settle this time, I shall present myself as a form of recompense. Your body resembles a desiccated toad. Who would desire such a thing? Mrs. Evelyn erupted in laughter, playfully chiding him. Liam gave a playful wink. Perhaps you haven't realized that the slender gentlemen are the true experts. Have you? Experts in what domain? She fixed him with a piercing gaze. You're familiar with matters of the bedroom. Your wit is truly sharp. In just a few moments, what began as light-hearted banter spiraled into a reckless abandon. Liam ventured beyond the boundaries, executing a daring action that ignited Mrs. Evelyn's fury. A sharp slap echoed as it connected with his cheek. You mischievous little rascal, I could easily be your mother. Vanish from my sight. Liam, feeling the sting of humiliation, retreated, his words barely audible as he muttered to himself. The eccentric old witch believed I was earnest. A few days later, Liam made another visit to the store. He shouted with fervor, Mrs. Evelyn, yet, silence enveloped him, offering no reply. The door stood slightly ajar. Thus, Liam embraced the uncertainty and ventured within. What he beheld left him paralyzed in disbelief. Mrs. Evelyn found herself in a delicate situation, her solitude momentarily interrupted by a sudden noise that startled her as she sought comfort in an unexpected way. She turned her face away, a flush of embarrassment creeping across her cheeks. Liam let out a chuckle, his voice dripping with sarcasm. Those who incessantly discuss morals often harbor the most peculiar secrets. After a brief pause, he settled into a chair. Mrs. Evelyn emerged from her dwelling. Her expression was muted. I reside in solitude. My husband has departed from this world. My children are distant from me. I remain a woman. I possess yearnings, cravings that linger within me. At this stage of life, it is often referred to as a second spring. At times, it proves challenging to maintain control. She set down 5 million dong on the table, her voice barely above a whisper. Take a moment today for introspection and reflect on your obligations. With a glint in his eyes, Liam took the money. Should you require my assistance, feel free to reach out. A genuine man surpasses the artificial. It turns out you're not as financially strained as you once believed. He caressed her cheek gently before turning and leaving the room. From that moment onward, Liam's words reverberated in Mrs. Evelyn's thoughts. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow over the world, she finally mustered the courage to send him a message. If you find yourself unoccupied this evening, feel free to drop by. I have a question to pose. Engrossed in his game, Liam failed to notice the message immediately. After more than an hour had passed, he finally made his entrance. The door stood ajar. As he entered, the gentle sound of water flowing from the bathroom reached his ears. He approached with quiet intent and carefully eased the door ajar. Liam, what are you up to? Mrs. Evelyn inhaled sharply, her eyes widening in shock. You invited me to come over. Wasn't this the purpose? She appeared flustered, at a loss for words. Liam approached with purpose, gently shutting the bathroom door behind him. Steam coiled heavily in the atmosphere, obscuring the reflection in the mirror that loomed behind them. The cramped bathroom now felt as if it contained only their two forms, entwined in a shared cadence. Liam drew her near, enveloping her in a firm embrace. Their lips connected, gentle yet fervent, as though they had yearned for this moment for an eternity. Liam's grip around her waist grew firmer, his breath wavering with uncertainty. Mrs. Evelyn tilted her head back, releasing a soft sigh as Liam's lips traced the delicate curve of her collarbone. He leaned closer, his voice barely a breath as he whispered into her ear. "Do you prefer it over your previous toys?" Without a word, she encircled his neck with her arms, drawing him nearer, as if to evade the fleeting shadow of guilt that had just brushed against her thoughts. Yet, the body remains an honest testament. It had yearned for this intimacy for an eternity. "Don't say anything," Mrs. Evelyn murmured, her voice blending seamlessly with the sound of dripping water. "Allow me to be vulnerable. Just this once." Liam's demeanor softened as he embraced her closely. Water cascaded gently down their backs. Their breaths intertwined, their fingers intertwined, seeking the warmth of connection. Their lips mirrored the sentiment as well. Silence speaks volumes, guided solely by intuition and feeling. Last night had unfolded in ways unforeseen. Yet tonight was a matter of agreement. Within the humid, sultry confines, it felt as though all limits dissolved into the air. Their garments adhered to their bodies, gradually stripped away like the protective layers of armor they had donned for countless years. As their bare bodies finally intertwined, it felt as though they had plunged into a void, where only the rhythm of heartbeats and the intensity of their gazes remained. They moved with a leisurely pace. Each touch, each embrace ignited a flame that had long been hidden away. It transcended mere desire. It was a liberation for two solitary spirits who had, against all odds, discovered one another as if fate had intricately woven their destinies together. Now, let us immerse ourselves in the tale of Liam and Hannah. Mrs. Evelyn's bedroom, usually a bastion of simplicity and order, felt imbued with an unusual ambiance this evening. Each illuminated bulb, each curtain dancing softly in the breeze appeared to exhale, poised for an extraordinary occurrence. Liam slipped inside, gently shutting the door with a soft click. Silence enveloped the space, devoid of the familiar click of a lock. He understood that Hannah had a deep-seated fear of gossip. Yet this time, she remained silent. She perched at the edge of the bed, hands intertwined, her gaze deliberately averted from his anxious eyes. Liam inquired, his voice more subdued than usual. She shook her head ever so slightly. Yet it was evident that she was trembling, not out of fear, but from something deeper. It had been far too long since she had genuinely embraced her femininity. Liam inched nearer, bent slightly, and gazed at her intently. Neither playful nor boisterous, with a tender touch, he swept her hair away from her face. The unassuming act transported this 45-year-old woman back to the innocence of her youth. "You're beautiful," he murmured softly. Her smile danced upon her lips, eyes shimmering with a light all their own. In that instant, time unfolds the history and decorum. All things dissolved into the ether, as if shrouded in a delicate veil of fog. Only two souls lingered, one yearning for affection, the other in quest of a true home. The nightgown cascaded to the floor. Their forms intertwined, a delicate dance of shadow and light. Silence enveloped us, punctuated only by quickened breaths, quivering caresses, and a night that stretched on endlessly. Liam had shed the persona of the idle, profane youth loitering outside the convenience store. He had evolved into a man, perceptive and tender, capable of eliciting shivers and gasps from Hannah in fleeting moments that remained unseen by anyone else. The gentle creaks of the bed melded into a symphony brimming with unrefined longing. Mrs. Evelyn had never envisioned that, at her age, she could still encounter a night so peculiar, so reminiscent, and so delightfully scandalous. Yet, she found herself devoid of any regrets. They reclined side by side as the first light of dawn began to creep in. Liam slumbered peacefully, reminiscent of a carefree child, while Hannah lay wide awake, her gaze fixed on the ceiling, her heart a tempest of emotions. Was this simply a transaction, a physical arrangement, or could it be something deeper? She remained oblivious, and maybe there was a part of her that preferred it that way. Not at this moment. In the chill of the desolate night, she found herself enveloped in warmth. After years of reliance, she finally drifted off to sleep, the vibrator that once lay concealed beneath her pillow now untouched. What started as mere physical pleasure gradually awakened a profound yearning within her. Liam had transcended the identity of a mere debt-ridden young man. Slowly, he wove himself into the fabric of her evenings. The aroma of his sweat lingered in the air, while the playful sparkle in his eyes danced with mischief as he teased her. The gentle caress of his fingers against her cheek, accompanied by that sly smile, wove a tapestry of affection around her heart, ensnaring her before she even recognized the enchantment at play. At 45, Hannah had weathered countless storms, yet a woman's heart remains ever capable of deep sensation. As Liam lay beside her, his breath steady and rhythmic in slumber, she was transported back to the innocence of youth. A teenage girl experiencing love for the very first time, nervous, shy, and longing to hold on to that warmth for eternity. Yet Liam stood apart. As the months passed, he began to weave a tapestry of excuses, claiming he was preoccupied with school, part-time work, and gaming. Her messages received fewer and fewer responses. At times, days stretched into 2 or 3. Enveloped in silence, whispers found their way to her ears. Liam found himself in a romantic entanglement with a girl employed at the quaint milk tea shop just down the street. One day, she witnessed it firsthand, Liam, astride his motorbike, with that girl nestled behind him, his hand casually resting on her thigh, their laughter ringing out like a melody in the air. Hannah felt an overwhelming sense of despair. In the stillness of the night, she found herself alone in her room, enveloped by silence. The television flickered with light, yet her gaze wandered elsewhere, untouched by its glow. A half-filled glass of wine quivered delicately in her grasp. Her lips trembled slightly. Was she merely foolish? She pondered. A young man ready to barter his very essence for mere currency? How could he ever comprehend the essence of genuine affection? Yet, if it were merely a matter of the physical form, what could possibly explain the profound ache in her heart? Liam returned home in the late hours of the night. As he pushed the door ajar, he beheld her seated in silence, her gaze heavy with unspoken grief. He offered a subtle, disquieted smile. Were you trying to reach me for a specific reason? Mrs. Evelyn cast her gaze upon him. Her voice faltered. Liam, you're involved with someone else, aren't you? Liam paused briefly, ran a hand through his hair, and let out a humorless chuckle. You're caught in a web of thoughts. We, the youth, gather with our friends simply for the joy of it, nothing more. Mrs. Evelyn rose to her feet, her voice quivering with pain. Enjoyable? So, who am I in this narrative? Is it merely a matter of being used and then discarded? Liam remained quiet. He took a step closer and wrapped his arms around her. You're overanalyzing. Your presence remains essential to me. Yet she understood that his embrace no longer held the heat it once did. Her tears began to cascade down her cheeks, not for the sake of wealth, but because she had entrusted her heart to someone unworthy of such a gift. Mrs. Evelyn was far from foolish. On the following morning, she found herself seated in solitude, immersed in contemplation. She knew she had to put a stop to this before it spiraled out of control. If Liam continued to dally with that girl, she wouldn't merely suffer a loss of money and pride, her heart would be at stake as well. That afternoon, as Liam stepped through the door without bothering to remove his shoes, he found her already perched on the sofa, her expression icy and unyielding. Take a seat. I wish to have a conversation. Liam offered a hesitant smile, struggling to find his voice as she swiftly moved to the heart of the matter. If you continue to frequent that girl from the milk tea shop, don't anticipate any other fragrance from my end. Liam stood motionless, helmet clutched tightly in his grasp. It seems you have been observing my every move. I find it unnecessary. All the residents in this neighborhood witnessed you taking her for a ride. still attempting to conceal it. Liam rubbed the back of his head and took a seat. His tone tinged with uncertainty. I was simply passing the time. It's not serious. Mrs. Evelyn narrowed her eyes, her voice cutting like a knife. As we spent time together, I didn't provide for you and cover your educational expenses just so you could enjoy the company of someone else who offers you monthly financial support and takes care of your meals and tuition. I'm not miserly, yet I detest being regarded as a simpleton. Liam remained quiet. From this moment forward, should I find you lurking in her presence once more, do not hold me accountable for my lack of compassion. Liam bowed his head and spoke in a hushed tone. Indeed, madam, I comprehend. I won't see her any more, Mrs. Evelyn murmured, leaning back as she took a delicate sip of her tea. Her heart remained in disarray. Uncertainty clouded her mind as she pondered whether her actions were just or if she was binding love with invisible chains. Yet, in this moment, she found solace in the fact that he remained by her side. Liam let out a resigned sigh. He had never genuinely loved anyone. Yet how could he possibly endure in the city without any money? Ever since that fateful encounter with Mrs. Evelyn, Liam had kept his demeanor in check. Yet compliance did not equate to contentment. Mrs. Evelyn had ceased to provide him with money as she once did. The explanation was evident. To find solace, one must remain steadfast in their allegiance. Liam started to sense the sharp pangs of hunger. He lacked funds for snacks and resorted to begging for cigarettes from friends. He stood on the periphery, a silent observer, as his friends immersed themselves in the vibrant world of games within the internet cafe. His friends sneered, a faded gigolo, they whispered. To make matters worse, the girl from the neighborhood, the one he had been secretly seeing, ended their relationship. What is love devoid of wealth? She remarked, casually tossing her backpack over her shoulder before leaping onto the motorbike with an older gentleman, who expertly maneuvered a shish. In that moment, Liam felt as though he had been cast aside by the world. One evening, he arrived at Mrs. Evelyn's residence. His eyes were hollow, his complexion ashen, and his shirt lay crumpled. He lingered on the porch, silence enveloping him. Mrs. Evelyn swung the door open and regarded him with a steady gaze. Lingering in the moment, feeling a bit peckish. Are we? She inquired. Liam inclined his head in acknowledgement. She pivoted and stepped through the doorway. After a brief interlude, she returned bearing a steaming dish. Liam devoured his meal as if he had been starved for days. In the aftermath, he remained still, his head bowed in quiet contemplation. Mrs. Evelyn delicately poured a modest glass of wine and set it before him with care. I am not a financial institution for you to continuously draw from. I don't require the company of another simply due to their hunger. Yet, should your intentions be genuine, I shall offer you more than you ever dreamed possible. Liam raised his gaze, his eyes locked with the steady gaze of an experienced woman. You truly mean it? I have never engaged in humor. In an instant, Liam entered the house and gently embraced her from behind. Cease the playful jabs, and the self-assured smirks must fade away. A solitary soul, adrift and seeking a glimmer of connection, yearning for something or someone to grasp onto in the vastness of uncertainty. And the woman, she spread her arms wide. After that night, Liam underwent a profound transformation. He had shed the persona of the cheeky, impish lad who once delighted in making sly remarks. Each time he visited Mrs. Evelyn's home, he offered her a soft greeting and inquired about her day with heartfelt sincerity. At times, he would lend a hand in the store, sweeping the yard, mopping the floors, and quietly organizing the surroundings. Nothing overly lavish, yet sufficient for Mrs. Evelyn to perceive the change. The evening was marked by a relentless downpour. The electricity failed in her home, casting shadows that danced with the flickering glow of a solitary candle on the table. Liam settled next to her, gently filling 2 small glasses with wine. He lifted his glass with a subtle gesture. A heartfelt toast to the woman who nourishes my body, envelops me in warmth, and makes me feel cherished. Mrs. Evelyn felt a warm flush rise to her cheeks as she attempted to avert her gaze. Yet Liam tenderly grasped her hand. You know, he said, I used to believe that all I needed was money or a good time. But during these past days without you, I truly felt a void. She averted her gaze, unmistakably flustered. Liam edged nearer. I refuse to be the kind of person who merely collects your money and vanishes into thin air. I want you to recognize that you remain undeniably captivating. Before she had the chance to respond, Liam bent down and placed a gentle, respectful kiss on her shoulder. Mrs. Evelyn trembled, as though a dormant sensation within her had suddenly stirred to life. A memory long buried, he leaned closer, his breath warm against her skin, and murmured, You're beautiful. The allure of a woman seasoned by experience is undeniable. Transcending the superficiality of makeup, it is a beauty that lingers in a man's memory. Unforgettable and profound, she glanced at him, her eyes aglow with a captivating light. For the first time in many years, she felt liberated from the weight of aging, no longer a woman pleading for mere fragments of affection. She sensed a deep yearning for her, a palpable desire that enveloped her. Liam enveloped her in a gentle embrace, each motion infused with heartfelt emotion. That night, they surrendered not only to desire but to something deeper. For the first time, they made contact with something delicate. Individuals frequently refer to love. The following morning, soft sunlight filtered through the window, resting in the room, reminiscent of a tender recollection from the night prior. Mrs. Evelyn stirred from her slumber, her form enveloped in a luxurious embrace that lingered with remnants of warmth and the faint scent of wine from the evening prior. Beside her, Liam lay in peaceful slumber, one arm tenderly draped over her waist, as if he were grasping something delicate and precious. She glanced at his youthful face, this man nearly 2 decades her junior, and felt her heart flutter as if she were a girl experiencing love for the very first time. A fragment of her being yearned to rouse him from slumber. Yet another fragment trembled at the thought of shattering the delicate beauty of that moment too swiftly. The garden outside was alive with the sweet melodies of chirping birds. From afar, the well-known morning symphony of the market wafted through the air. With a gentle grace, she eased herself from the warmth of the bed, donned a delicate robe, and ventured out onto the porch. The air lingered with warmth, infused with the scent of moist earth and the delicate fragrance of tea she had just started to steep. It ushered in a tranquil aura and a surreal embrace of warmth. Liam stirred from his slumber, stretching languidly as he emerged, his hair a delightful mess and his eyes still heavy with sleep. He encircled her with his arms from behind, his face gently pressing against her back. Never have I experienced a morning so tranquil, he whispered. Mrs. Evelyn wore a smirk, yet her eyes revealed nothing. Within her lay a profound essence, illuminated by the passage of time. She understood that beauty often comes with fragility, particularly for a woman who had experienced enough to grasp the cost of placing her faith in something so captivating. Liam, she inquired gently, her voice was serene, should I ever find myself devoid of funds, would your desire to be with me remain unchanged? Liam paused, enveloped in silence for a fleeting moment. In that moment, he drew her closer, enveloping her in a firm embrace. I cannot guarantee anything for eternity, yet I am certain of this moment in time. I long to be here with you. A straightforward response, devoid of any adornment. Mrs. Evelyn stared thoughtfully into the horizon, though it may not have resembled the fairy tale romance she had once envisioned. It was undeniably authentic. And at times, for a woman who has already traversed the first half of her life, that can be more than sufficient. That morning, following weeks filled with fervent, almost dreamlike moments shared, Mrs. Evelyn started to sense an unusual change within her body. Her head swam with a delicate lightness. Her palate had transformed, and most strikingly, sudden surges of nausea would wash over her in the midst of preparing a meal. Initially, she believed it to be nothing more than a slight cold. Perhaps she was simply weary from nights spent tossing and turning. Yet, as the symptoms resurfaced with growing intensity, an unusual intuition began to weave its way into her thoughts. It was an instinct born of motherhood, unmistakable in its familiarity, a feeling she recognized from having once nurtured a child within her. That afternoon, with a sense of quiet determination, she slipped out to purchase a pregnancy test, tucking it away carefully in her handbag. She lingered until Liam departed to join his friends for a game of soccer. Then entered the bathroom, her hands quaking with anticipation, as two crimson lines emerged, unmistakable and stark. Mrs. Evelyn sank onto the toilet, her face buried in her hands, expecting a child at almost 50, with a partner 2 decades her junior. She found herself caught in a whirlwind of emotions, unsure whether to weep or chuckle. That evening, as Liam returned home, she remained silent, yet her gaze lingered on him with an intensity that was more pronounced than before. Quietly assessing his every move, contemplating his potential reactions, at last, she could no longer contain it. She set her glass down on the table, her voice unwavering as she spoke. "I have news, Liam, I'm expecting a baby." The apartment enveloped itself in a profound stillness. The candlelight danced upon Liam's features, illuminating a tapestry of shock, confusion, and a whisper of fear. Are you certain I just conducted a test? It is indeed real." Liam rose to his feet, taking a few steps as though he were attempting to inhale the weight of the news. Mrs. Evelyn stood frozen, her heart racing, a part of her yearning for comfort, while another part braced itself for the inevitable dread of what might come. At last, Liam made his way back, settling into his seat before her with a deliberate slowness. "I find myself at a loss, unsure of the path forward. Hannah, I truly never anticipated this unfolding, yet I refuse to flee from it." Tears brimmed in her eyes, not as a testament to an eternal vow, but rather as a reflection of her immediate need, raw, unfiltered honesty. "Perhaps I won't manage to hold on to it," she murmured, "yet I shall endeavor, even at this stage of my life. And if the child comes to us," she added, "it is a gift." For the first time, Liam tightened his grip on her hand. He ceased to address her as ma'am. "Hannah, let us embark on this journey side by side." "Very well," she gave a nod. However, her heart remained heavy with doubt. Yet for the first time, she grasped that a child does not always come to disrupt the delicate balance of life. At times, it comes to offer two wandering spirits a purpose to envision a genuine future. How about introducing a twist? Maybe a concealed history or a scandal involving family inheritance in the upcoming chapter? From the moment Mrs. Evelyn discovered she was expecting, Liam underwent a remarkable transformation. He had shed the guise of the playful, carefree young man he once was. His gaze had become more subdued and intent. Each dawn, before she stirred from her slumber, he would rise with the sun to prepare porridge and brew herbal tea just for her. The meals were unadorned, perhaps even tasteless, yet they enveloped her heart with a warmth that no opulence could ever provide. The previously solitary little house now exuded an unexpected warmth. Liam meticulously swept the yard, diligently washed the clothes, and thoroughly cleaned the floors. On a dreary, rain-soaked day, he plodded through the muck, driven by the desire to procure a handful of spring oranges, all because she had expressed a longing for them. He returned home drenched, yet his eyes gleamed with the joy of a child who had just aced a test. "Do you realize something?" He smiled as he gently dried her feet. A newfound ritual beginning between them. "I must ensure that this future mom experiences neither sadness nor fatigue from this point forward. I might not be the finest man around, but I will strive to be a devoted husband and a caring father." Mrs. Evelyn chuckled amidst her tears. It had been an eternity since anyone had referred to her as future mom. That word, once a hidden desire, now surged within her, igniting an overwhelming joy. At night, Liam would nestle beside her, his arm draped protectively over her belly, as if he feared that someone might take away the precious life within. He murmured whimsical words to the unborn baby, as though he were already conversing with a tiny, blossoming spirit. "Greetings, I am your father, Liam. While I may not excel in many areas, my affection for your mother knows no bounds. Upon your arrival, may you embody strength akin to hers, embracing gentleness and a deep gratitude for this existence." Mrs. Evelyn remained still, absorbing his gentle murmurs, as tears quietly traced their path down her cheeks. She came to realize that love does not always start with romance or perfect timing. At times, it begins with an unexpected turn of events, compelling individuals to mature and embrace love with purpose. Regardless of the challenges looming before them, a sense of tranquility enveloped her. After years of tumultuous existence, she found herself living not solely for her own sake. The news of Mrs. Evelyn's pregnancy circulated with an understated intensity. Initially, all appeared serene. Then, almost as if carried by the wind, whispers began to circulate among the extended family in just a matter of days. The journey began with her visit to the local health center for a routine checkup. Though she carried herself with a quiet discretion, she was taken aback when the young nurse, who happened to be the daughter-in-law of an old family acquaintance, recognized her name on the ultrasound slip. Before long, the tale of a nearly 50-year-old woman expecting a child spread like wildfire, weaving its way through the murmurs of street vendors and the whispered exchanges that danced behind her back. As the sun dipped below the horizon, her phone incessantly buzzed and chimed, a relentless symphony of notifications. On the other end was her older sister's voice, cutting through the air like scissors slicing through fabric. Have you completely lost your senses, Hannah? At your age, becoming entangled in such a relationship? Who might it be? Her sister pressed on with fervor. That boy, that Liam you've been backing. Do you truly believe this is a jest, tarnishing our family's reputation? Mrs. Evelyn remained quiet, finding herself unable to interject. Her sister pressed on, her voice rising in volume, each word sharper than the last. In the end, Hannah found herself enveloped in a muffled silence, the only sound piercing through being a relentless ringing in her ears, while a profound shame surged within her, constricting her throat. On that night, she found herself seated on the porch. Liam presented a steaming bowl of porridge, yet she merely shook her head in refusal. He noticed her crimson eyes and took a seat beside her, his voice gentle. So, they discovered the truth, did they? She gave a subtle nod, allowing a few silent tears to cascade onto her dress. I apologize, Liam, I pulled you into this. The shame was not yours to bear. Liam tenderly brushed her cheek, reminiscent of a parent soothing a distressed child. What prompts your apology? You are the sole individual embracing the authenticity of your emotions. What about the remainder? They merely exist in the dim light cast by another's presence. Mrs. Evelyn smiled despite the tears that streamed down her face, her heart weighed down by an unshakable heaviness. Liam's words enveloped her in a comforting embrace, easing the weight of solitude. The following morning, her sister made her way from the city. She lingered in the yard, arms folded, her gaze sharp and critical. Hannah beheld the well-known silhouette, a countenance marked by sternness and a posture that exuded unwavering resolve. Step outside. It's time for a conversation. Her sister insisted that Liam, who had been mowing the lawn in the garden, rise to his feet. Hannah gestured for him to remain at a distance. I'll take care of this, she murmured gently, before stepping out onto the porch. For the first time, she resolved to step into the light, shedding the shadows that had cloaked her for so long. Her sister lingered in the yard, arms crossed, her gaze aflame with a mix of disappointment and fury. For how long will you continue to engage in this game? She commanded, her voice, rough and jagged, as if gravel were scraping through clenched teeth. The entire family is engaged in conversation. It is said that you have lost your sanity. Approaching 50, allowing a youthful upstart to trample over you. Mrs. Evelyn remained silent. Her sister moved in, her voice growing louder. Have you considered your daughter? Concerning our guardians? You're expecting a child with someone who lacks a solid foundation and relies on your financial support. And you dare to label that as love? Hannah spoke softly yet resolutely, asserting, Liam's not like that. He has never once requested a single cent from me. Her sister let out a derisive laugh. Oh, is that so? So, how does he sustain himself? Who covers the expenses, the groceries, the motorcycle? He possesses a clever charm, effortlessly sweet-talking the elderly ladies. Do you believe he has feelings for you? He adores your savings account, your home, your retirement fund. Her words pierced through the air, not necessarily for their truth, but for the weight they carried, spoken by someone who had once walked alongside her in the innocence of childhood. Her tears flowed silently. "Do you really believe he cradles your pregnant belly out of affection?" Her sister erupted. "He stands before her, a presence shaped by the actions of Mrs. Evelyn, who clenched her hands, drawing upon the last reserves of her strength to hold her ground." Suddenly, she heard footsteps approaching from behind. Liam remained quiet and unwavering. Positioned next to her, he extended his hand, grasping hers with a steady and unwavering grip. "Your lack of trust in me is understandable." He remarked that I am youthful, directionless, and susceptible to skepticism, yet I require no one's faith. I simply require Hannah's trust in my words. I seek neither a house nor a savings account, nor do I covet a title. He faced her sister, his voice steady and composed. I find myself here, drawn by my love for her and the little one she carries within her. Her sister let out a harsh, mirthless laugh. What sort of man depends on a woman 2 decades his senior for his livelihood? Liam remained silent. He glanced at Hannah and remarked, "Let's head back inside." "You are not obligated to justify yourself to anyone." Hannah cast her gaze upon him, then shifted to her sister, the girl who had once been her steadfast companion through every sorrowful moment, now the first to pass judgment on her elder sister. She spoke, her voice unwavering. "I have reached the point where I will no longer live to satisfy the expectations of others. I exist for the ideals that resonate within me. This child embodies the remnants of my existence. Regardless of what unfolds from here, I shall hold no regrets." With a deliberate grace, she pivoted and made her way back to the house. Liam strolled alongside her, his grip on her hand a silent promise. Behind them lingered the gazes of family, neighbors, and countless interpretations of what ought to be or what ought not to be. Yet, there are moments when staying true to one's heart becomes the most courageous act for a woman shaped by her history. In the face of whispers, scrutiny, and the unspoken disapproval from her own kin, Mrs. Evelyn made the resolute decision to embrace motherhood and keep the baby. She provided neither explanations nor complaints. Each morning, she would tenderly caress her belly, murmuring softly to the little one within, "I'm here, my child." One can flourish in tranquility, yet Liam remained steadfast and unmoving. In fact, he emerged even more resilient amidst the whispers of speculation. He took on various labor jobs, transporting bricks, delivering goods, and fixing bikes under the cover of night. The parties had faded into memory, as had the aimless days. Each coin he acquired found its way into a modest box resting beside the bed. "This is the fund for our child's future," he would declare. Mrs. Evelyn, defying the passage of time, continued to embody remarkable health. The pregnancy did not drain her as many had anticipated. On the contrary, it ignited within her a sense of purpose, a renewed reason to embrace hope once more. Their small abode, previously steeped in quietude, now thrummed with the vibrant echoes of warmth and laughter. After several months, she welcomed a healthy baby boy into the world. Liam cradled the child in his arms, his eyes glistening with unshed tears. He murmured, "He resembles you perfectly. In his presence, I perceive the entirety of your struggles. I shall endeavor to atone for my past shortcomings from this moment forward." Mrs. Evelyn perched on the edge of the bed, her gaze fixed on the father and son, tears welling in her eyes. The day that others predicted would bring her shame instead blossomed into a source of joy she had never even dared to imagine. In a humble dwelling on the outskirts of town, the three of them made their home. They lacked wealth and status, yet they possessed sufficient sustenance and warmth. In a cocoon of affection, the child blossomed, enveloped by warmth and joy. Whispers lingered in the air, yet as time passed, those murmurs gradually dissolved into silence, as they witnessed Liam dashing through the downpour to fetch medicine for his ailing wife, or cradling the baby while navigating a waterlogged street. And as Mrs. Evelyn radiated joy beside her 2 boys, a hush fell over the crowd, and one day, a whisper carried a new kind of rumor through the air. Perhaps, just perhaps, that young man truly holds affection for her. For Mrs. Evelyn, that sufficed abundantly. She required no affirmation. She merely sought to embrace the concluding chapter of her existence alongside a man who adored her and a child who infused unforeseen vibrancy into a destiny she believed was already inscribed.